That's right. Move out of my way. Alright, now you can see that weird little aura around me. Alright, let's get to a spot where that's relevant so you can see. There we go, right there. This is the kind of stuff I'm not a huge fan of. You know, they gave me an ability, but I've already passed areas where I should have needed it. You know, I just sort of happened to come across them by accident. Again, I guess they want you to backtrack, but you know, I'm of the mind where it's just in me to search all over the place. You know, to do weird searches and press against the walls for moving blocks or anything like that. It's funny, we'll play games. My wife and I will sit there and we'll play some games, and then she'll be trying to do something and she won't be able to figure out where it is. I apologize if the sounds of the outside are coming in. I think a motorcycle just went by. But she'll be trying to figure out a puzzle, and then she'll ask me for help, and then I'll come over and then I'll just do it. You know, I'll flip a block or something, and she won't understand how it is that I was able to figure that out. And the answer is basically always the same thing. I've been doing this for so long. I'm just sort of used to looking for that sort of thing. You know, it's you know, these pillars right here, if I was stuck, it would be in me to just push up against every one of them in all four directions, just to see if they start moving. Holy hell, that chest came to life. You know, it's helpful in games when they at least tell you that stuff is going to start happening. But sometimes they don't. You know, with the older games especially, they just really don't. So it's just up to you to sort of figure that stuff out. You know, I was playing the new DuckTales Remastered when it came out. I went over to my nephew's house and he had it. And I said, oh, this is cool. This is beautiful. And, you know, I used to love the DuckTales Nintendo games. So this is gorgeous. And I'm playing it and I'm jumping around and the little crystals are popping out everywhere. And he looks and he says, well, how did you know that was there? And I tell him I didn't. I played this game originally, and that's sort of how this game worked. You just jump around, and it's almost like a pixel trigger. Like if your sprite is in that part of the screen, it triggers something to fall out. Like that seems to be. It was nothing more complicated than that, as far as I could tell, anyway. You know, because I wasn't jumping up and hitting switches. I was just jumping and I was being in a corner, and then crystals would pop out. And it was, you know, I just, even if I hadn't played DuckTales specifically, I know that that's just how some games work. You know, it's not always okay. I'm just used to it. You know, the biggest culprit of that, and here we go again with the parallels, is the first Legend of Zelda. If you've ever played, I'm sure you played it. I'm sure you know this secret. If you play it and you beat it, it opens up a second version of the quest, which is very different, much harder. All the dungeons are different. The item placement is different. The locations of everything is different, from the heart containers to where the dungeons are. All the items and swords, it's all different. And one of the biggest changes was in the dungeons, they start to include invisible walls that you push up against and you walk right through. And then there's walls where you push up against and you go through and you can go back and forth. And then there's ones where you go through and they're one way. And I don't remember if there was a guy that told you that, but that comes from just trying to do stuff. I think I figured that out by accident. I was pushing up against walls because I was setting bombs. And then I pushed up against one that I did for just a half second too long, and he walked through the wall. And then once that starts to happen, once you realize that is a component of the game, it changes the whole way you play the game. Because now, so now what you're doing is you're pushing up against every wall. Because if you can't bomb it, maybe you can walk through it. Alright, that's the last pathway back to the sacred tower temple thingy, so usually that means that the boss isn't too far off. You know, getting back to that, I think that's one of the reasons I really like video games. I like because it's such a huge giant thing, there's a 1,000 ways to play it. You know, even games like this, they seem pretty straightforward, and you know, they're action adventure. You walk around overhead and you find items and you do stuff. But some games are more action oriented, where it's more about killing everything and moving forward. Some games are more puzzle oriented, where the enemies aren't too tough. If anything, they're kind of there just because it wouldn't be the same if there was nothing. But then sometimes the enemies are tied directly to the puzzles, or you know, they're only there for the puzzles. You know, that's it. Ugh, Doc. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present Queen Magdred. Oh, she is, wow. Her guys are ruthless. You are dirtier than evil. That's it's kind of brutal and not brutal all at the same time. This is the kind of logic that always drives me nuts. I'm going to help you build a machine that's going to basically destroy the world, as long as you make sure my daughter is safe. But if you're gonna destroy everything, there's literally no place that they're going to be safe. So I don't understand that. And what gets me is there doesn't seem to be any indication that the king and queen are going to end up in a good place. You know, a lot of the time they make it very clear where they're going to, I don't know, sell the world to the devil, and then they're now going to live as kings and queens in hell. Something along that line where, oh, okay, they're going to, you know, if I help these aliens destroy the planet, they'll take me to their planet where I can live in peace. You know, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. Like, they just, all they're talking about is Death Toll is going to destroy the world or drain it of life or something, and it's, well, where are you gonna go? Remember, kids, if anybody offers you the opportunity to help them destroy the world in protection for your family lives in the world. They're not safe. So don't build that death machine. Don't, I don't know, summon a comet that destroys the planet. Don't start a virus that will turn everyone into zombie tomatoes. You know, I mean, that one just seems interesting, but it probably is going to end up worse than it sounds. This is where I forgot that you have to activate a key. You have to equip a key in order for it to work. This goes back to my key items issue. You know, obviously I want to use the key that I just got for the airship. All right. Here we go. Storm Eagle. I think I die in this fight. I hate, spoiler alert. I think I die and then I lived. I don't really remember. If you notice, I made the Storm Eagle joke because that's literally where I took that battle strategy from. There you go. So he's got powers of flight, and he shoots those columns of flame at you. I kind of wish he also threw rocks and make a great earth, wind, and fire joke. But he's just wind and fire. That's boring. And once again, can't be hurt by any of the spells. See, again, that's the, you know, I can't use the spells on any of the bosses. That would be a lot more interesting. You know, generate some more strategy. You know, this game, for the most part, it might as well just be played with a sword and that's it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I die in this one. Yeah, I was contemplating. I knew I wasn't gonna make it. So what I ended up doing here, I think I took off the medical herb, or I intended to take off the medical herb and just end up dying and come back to it, because that was going to be my intention. You know, a lot of the time I'll just die for games until I figure, you know, I'll die until I figure out the strategy, and then I'll try and go back in fully loaded with the real strategy in mind. You know, that's when I'm gonna try and do things the way, because now I know what I need to do. There we go. We're getting a rhythm. Switch to the power bracelet. Let's see how much damage I can do here. Yeah, see, what I end up having to do there is separate myself further. There are cheap shots like that. But I think if you separate yourself a little further, it spreads the fire out, which gives you enough time to move in between them.